Now we begin at verse 29. Let us look at what the NIV has to say. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all have gifts of healing? Do all speak in tongues? Do all interpret? So we're going to stop right here. We're going to go over the Greek, just so you can see. It's easy Greek, but I want you to see how it is in the original. What it's saying right here is, you are the body of Christ. Are you all apostles? And this goes back to verse 19. It says that something that, like, if the whole body is one member, what would the body be? So if the body was all composed of an eye, and everything was an eye, where would the body be? Or if it was just composed of a hand, and everyone was a hand, where would the body be? Here it brings that and applies it to the body of Christ. And it says, not everyone is apostle, not all are apostles, not all are prophets. It is saying that every single spiritual gift is necessary to form the body, to function in the body of Christ. Let's go over the Greek really quick. So we have me, a negative me, pantes apostoloi. So pantes is the nominative singular, nominative plural, plural masculine, and apostoloi is nominative plural masculine. What does it say? This is the adjective, this is the noun. All apostles. Not all apostles. That's it? No. Well, first of all, the may in the beginning of the sentence forms a question, and it requires the answer no. Whereas uk, the other negative, requires the answer yes. But this one is may, the answer is going to be no. Me pantes apostoloi. There's no verb. This is an ellipsis. Therefore, we add the third person plural of Amy, which is eisyn. Are all apostles, we're going to translate it that way, are all apostles? The presence of the negative may at the beginning of the sentence requires the answer no. Are all apostles? No. The next one, same construction. May, same one. Pantes, prophetai. Now this is one of those weird nouns that has a form of a feminine, but it's actually masculine. And so, pantes, masculine, plural, and nominative, masculine, plural. Prophetai, nominative, masculine, plural. And again, all prophets. There's an ellipsis. We have the verb, the eisyn, which is the third person plural of Amy. So are all prophets? And then the presence of may requires the answer no. Not all are prophets. Not all are apostles. Next question. May, once again. Pantes, again. Didaskaloi. This is the nominative plural masculine of didaskalos. Didaskalos. Again. Are all teachers? That may in the beginning of the sentence requires the answer no, not all are teachers. And then pantes, and then dunames. This is the nominative plural feminine of powers, gifts of powers. Do all have the gift of powers? We're going to translate it that way. The answer is no. Powers, miracles. This is what it is, miracles. Do all have the gift of powers? No. Miracles. Verse 30. Again, may. Again, pantes. And then we have the nominative neuter plural of charisma. We saw this. This is the word for spiritual gifts. Charismata. We also saw the word pneumatica, spiritual things, but with regards to this topic, those spiritual things are the spiritual gifts. Charismata. This is strictly a Pauline word that he used to designate spiritual gifts. But then later on we see it in the letters of Peter, the epistles of Peter. In 1 Peter and 2 Peter, he uses the same word. The Apostle Peter was very much influenced by the Apostle Paul. In fact, we see that in 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 16, where he acknowledges that the writings of Paul can be a little bit complicated. In other words, Peter learned a lot from Paul. Peter acquired this great humility. Now, knowing Peter, he was extremely impulsive. He was a hothead. He used to get mad. He used to not think. He was a dumbass. But from learning doctrine so much, from being inside of this system, he finally got with it. He mastered the concepts of love. He learned a lot from the Apostle Paul as well. He did not hold a grudge after Paul rebuked him in front of everyone. He put him in his place because the Apostle Peter was being legalistic in front of the Gentiles when the Jews showed up. It's one of those things. You're right there having fellowship with the Gentiles, and then all of a sudden your fellow Jews show up, and then you just change your attitude. Like, what happened to this guy? He was being such a gregarious person, but then all of a sudden his homies show up, and now he changes his attitude towards us. That's what he was doing in his extreme legalism and self-righteousness. And so, me pantes, all charismata. Oh, okay, I forgot the verb. So pantes is the nominative, and then we have a verb here. We don't have the ellipsis of Amy as we do here. Now we have pantes all, just like that by itself, pantes all. And then we have, so this is the nominative, and therefore we have a verb of echo. This is the present active indicative. Echosin. This is the third person plural. Do all have, keep on having. This is a present tense. Charismata. This is gifts. And then we have a genitive. Genitive of description. Yamaton. Gifts of healing. And this is in the plural. Gifts of healings. And so, all, have, keep having gifts of healings. But with the may in the beginning, it requires the answer no. So we're going to translate this. Do all have the gifts of healings? No. The ones that had the gifts of healings for sure were, as over here up in the list, the apostolos, the prophets, and the teachers, and also other people. But why did those with the gifts of communication, why did they have to have the gifts of miracles and the gifts of healing? To validate, first of all, their spiritual gift. Secondly, to call attention to the message. So was the credentials. It was a means of credentials. Okay. That was verse 30. Now, me pantes glossais lalusin. So we have another verb here. It's not an ellipsis anymore. It's just as it was over here. And so pantes, this is the nominative, plural. All, that's the nominative. So now we look for the verb lalusin, third person plural. And this is the present active indicative of laleo. Do all speak. And then we have, so we have a dative indirect object, glossais, tongues. Do all speak tongues? The presence of the may in the beginning of the sentence requires the answer no. Do all speak tongues? No. And then, together with this gift, if there's going to be the gift of tongues, there has to be the gift of interpretation. Why does there have to be the gift of interpretation? Because communication is key. If you're speaking a bunch of languages that the congregation does not understand, how are they going to grow? Yes, the gift of tongues was for the unbelievers, for the Jewish unbelievers. But what happens to the whole congregation, especially if a person gets up and starts speaking in ancient, in the ancient Parthian, and then no one in the congregation can understand except that one Jewish unbeliever to whom the message was directed to? Well, obviously, there has to be the gift of interpretation so that the rest of the congregation can understand what he just said. Okay, where am I? Oh, yeah. Me pantes, all the this is a hard word, the hermeneusin, this is interpretation. Present active indicative of the hermeneo. Do all interpret? The presence of the may in the beginning of the sentence is no. Do all interpret? No. Now we have a translation, which is just like this. It's pretty good right here. Well, it's better than what I did. Verse 29. Are all apostles? No. Are all prophets? No. Are all teachers? No. Do all work miracles? No. Do all have the gifts of healing? No. Do all speak in tongues? No. Do all interpret? No.